Mes tęsėme savo kelionę ir pažintį su pranešėjais. Scania Group, veikianti daugiau nei 100 šalių ir teikianti tvarius transporto sprendimus, daug dėmesio skiria pažangių sprendimų ir
And now our next
Scania
speaker,
verslo strategija
Scania,
tokias prioritetinės sritis, kaip
has priority as
tikslas ir tvarumas.
decarbonization,
Scania
for example, circular economy. Stefano Fidel, Scania Executive Vice President, Head of Sales and Marketing, is going to speak about new sustainable solutions and opportunities in electrified long-haulage segment.
Dear guests, it's really an honor for me today to be here and share some challenges that the transport industry is and will face in the coming years. I think it's quite clear that our industry today is changing heavily, and there are some internal drivers that force this industry to change, as well as some external drivers. Let me share some drivers first that we have seen, and today we have listened already some previous presentation to really push the industry in a different direction. First of all, the electrification. We have seen that electrification is the technology to decarbonize the transport industry, especially in Europe, where the long distances are not comparable to what we see in Asia and in Latin America or in the United States. I mean, it's quite clear that electrification is the most efficient technology that can help the transport industry to reach net zero. Also, digitalization is pushing us to change a lot. I mean, it's quite clear that the acceptance of the technological development after COVID has reached a peak, and this is just the beginning. The digitalization now will become reality in every daily life. The second point is the technology disruption that we see in communication with the 5G. 5G will give us new opportunity to connect vehicles, infrastructure, and the digital landscape in a completely different way, boosting a lot the efficiency that need to be happen in the coming years in our industry. And a little bit more far away, I think with the connectivity possible today, autonomous will pop up as well in our industry. We see it already today, some example in mining in closed environment, but we see in the next 10 years, autonomous coming in as well in the normal transport ecosystem. Another important factor that is pushing our industry to change, we mentioned today, is new policy popping up, net zero, decarbonization, as well as circularity connected a little bit to scarcity of raw material. If we see a little bit the local trend that are pushing from outside our industry to change, we can see, it was mentioned before, the regionalization and the barrier that is popping up around the world, with three main clusters that we clearly see in the world: United States and Canada, Europe and Asia, mainly China. This will influence quite a lot the way we will operate in the future. It's not connected maybe to the good transport, but will influence quite a lot the people transport, the urbanization that we see around the world, especially in Africa and in Asia. And as I mentioned before, another important factor, we touched this several times this morning, is the resource scarcity. And we know that in Europe, the European Commission are now preparing a circularity policy that, of course, will push the industry to change a lot, will push the manufacturer to take the full responsibility of the life of the vehicle fully. Another point is the awareness from the society about the climate change. And we see more and more the pressure from the society to request more sustainable solutions. On the other side, I already mentioned the policy, But this transformation will require a new way of working, and I will come back to that. Sometimes we question ourselves if electricity will come here and now. And this is the latest forecast on what will happen in the coming years. If we see 2030, there are three main clusters in the world. Europe will drive the shift. 50% of the vehicles registered in 2030 will be electric. It's a massive development. And then China and the US and Canada will follow. The rest of the market will come later, but we see as well that in a lot of areas, like in Latin America, Brazil, 10–15% of the market in 2030 will be electric. Of course, we see far away other markets like Middle East and Russia, but I'm pretty sure that this situation will change in the future. Of course, there are some enablers, because this will not happen by chance. And one, or the most important, is that the BEV total operating economy level will be very close or parity to the diesel today. And we see that with the technology that will come in the coming years, this is possible. So that's the reason why we believe that electrification will happen and will happen with this speed. I would like to a little bit focus now on electrification and share with you some thoughts, because electrification is not just a different track. It's not just a technological step in the development of the vehicle. This will change quite a lot the entire ecosystem. As we said, connectivity will give us new opportunity. The traditional services will stay, but this, through circularity, repurpose, and the use concept that Europe will push in the coming years, will push the industry, including the manufacturer, to develop a new business model. And this business model requires that all the stakeholders will work together to succeed in the decarbonization of the transport industry. So we need to find a new way of working together. On one side, the transport industry with the shipper and the manufacturer. On the other side, the society with the transport buyer and the politicians. If we don't connect all these stakeholders, electrification will not happen at the speed that we have seen. But I see, at least in Europe and in the States, this happening. All these stakeholders are collaborating and working together. Even competitors are working together to really facilitate this development. And that's the reason why, of course, as I said, the manufacturer need to step up here and take much more responsibility. A lot of discussion are around vehicle as a service. And what is vehicle as a service? With all these norms that will come in Europe, the manufacturer will be forced to take the full responsibility of the entire life length of the vehicle. From the engineering and the designing point of view, to really be sure that then at the end of the life, the vehicle will be repurposed or recycled. And this, of course, starts from the engineering point of view today, actually has already started, because this norm will come in place in 2030. So already the vehicles that are manufactured today include this concept. And this requires another step from this point of view, because today when we think about the vehicle as a service, it's very connected to the customer, or the customer connected to the vehicles with the traditional services around the vehicle. In the future, this will be slightly different, because the customer is not anymore connected to the vehicle. The customer is connected to the transport buyer and the society. And that's the reason the vehicle as a service concept then should evolve, including all the services that today are spread around the entire value chain of the transport industry. And this is a huge responsibility that the manufacturer will take. So in the end, what is a vehicle as a service? It's a complex service that will enable the transport company to do in an easy way the transformation. Not only from the technological point of view to guarantee and offset the risk to the transport company from the technological shift point of view, but as well guarantee that the entire ecosystem is connected to really facilitate, without, of course, big risk, this jump to electrify and decarbonize the transport industry. I will spend a couple of minutes then in the end, because this is happening, and this, of course, will happen, as we said, in the coming years. But another shift that will happen a little bit later on is defined by autonomous vehicle. Very often we think that autonomous will happen far away from now. But we have today, all manufacturers have test vehicle in confined area. I mean, mining is already here and now. And very often in logistics center, inside the center, autonomous vehicle is a reality. Of course, this to be moved out from closed area to the road require new regulation, and this will not happen in the coming years. But we need to believe that from the technological point of view, during the last 5 years, the maturity level that we have reached today can enable us to be on the road before 2030. If legislation will change and allow that, it will happen at least in Europe, but the front runner here is US. We will see the vehicles on the road after 2030. Thanks a lot for the attention.